Hey folks, happy Monday. Hope you're doing well. Alrighty, we got a couple things to talk about tonight. We're going to do JavaFX controls, essentially most of the stuff from chapter 13. Again, we're going to be doing it in Scene Builder because that makes our life a whole lot easier. We can look next week a little bit more at some of the programmatic approaches to it, along with talking about exceptions and then any other miscellaneous topics you folks want to talk about. Next week should be relatively short, and then 8.16 again is set aside completely for you folks to work on your final project. If you want to drop in on screen sharing sessions during class time instead of office hours, I can do that. Just let me know. We can schedule something. And then on 8/23, now in 3 weeks, we are going to get together on Zoom, and then you folks will present your games. You get a chance to play them for the class, just go through some of the things, demonstrate how those different features work, and then I'll be able to score it as you're doing it, which will be great, and we'll call it a semester. It has been quite the summer. I appreciate you folks surviving through it with me. I'm sorry it's not really the summer semester it should have been, but hopefully we're making do and getting the most out of it that we can. So let me know what I can do to help. Again, the goal with the final projects is that everyone has a working game. We should be able to get everything done on that list. Right? That's why we've got a month to do it, now 3 weeks, but we've got the time to work on it. I want to put time and effort into this, be able to apply these things that we've learned and have a little bit of fun with it. All right, so let's talk about the final project. We got to put together that rubric for it here, so you know where you're getting your points. Give me 1 second, I gotta grab this. All right, so we're going to create a rubric, and we don't need some of these categories. Let's grab this one here. There we go. Delete, delete. And this will be, if it's complete, and this will be 5 or so, and so that it's missing. See where we want to do it there. Let's take a peek. Okay, so this idea that we can, let's do custom points here. So we can directions to travel to a new room, like north, east, south, and west, with a random direction being blocked each turn. So this idea that we're pretending we're in a maze. We don't actually need to track the maze. That's above and beyond what we need to really get there. But that we can travel between the different rooms here. Okay, so we'll have a button for north, button for south, button for east, button for west, and you can click on them, and one of them should be turned off each time. So to say, oh, you can't go that way, whatever, it's blocked, or you don't even have to give a message. You can just disable the button, and we'll look at all that tonight, how we can disable controls. It's pretty cool. And then we'll look at the player class. So we have our 3D6 stats. Again, that's 3 rolls of a 6-sided die, or the sum of a random number 1 to 6 3 times. So it's not a random value 3 to 18, because that'll give you different numbers. You want a random number 1 to 6 3 times. 3 different times you could pick a random number 1 to 6 and add them together. So the distribution is different that way than just picking a number between 3 and 18. Okay, for stats, strength, dexterity, and intelligence. 20 hit points, and tracking total gold. So the things that we can do with players, right? They're holding our stats. We'll look at some of those interactions later. And then our room encounters. 1/3 chance of a random PC appearing to fight. Ability to search the room for gold. You shouldn't be able to search. There is an NPC, right? If there's like an NPC to fight, you shouldn't be able to search the room for gold, because they'll just go smack you, right? Or NPC get a free hit. So however you want to do that, that's fine. So for random gold, roll a d20. Again, that's just a random number 1 to 20 with the d20. And if you get less than your intelligence score, you find some amount of gold. Okay. Oh, goodness. Okay, so yeah, all of that. Goodness. Push him for gold. Sleep with a 1/6 chance of NPC showing up. All right, so I can't have the whole description in here because it's too long for it. So there's a 1/3 chance an NPC appears when you enter a room. You can search the room. You can sleep in the room, and there might be an NPC there. Okay, so 8 points for that one. For the player character class, random 1 to 6 for hit points, and 2 times that for each stat: strength, dexterity, and intelligence. Okay, and then the fight here. Yeah, we didn't even need the custom one. This is nice. We'll just do 8 points each. Fight between PC and NPC. Hit if you roll a d20 greater than or equal to the opponent dexterity. Damage is strength divided by 3, at least 1 damage. So not necessarily rounded up, but we're saying at least 1 point of damage for this, because remember, the NPCs might not have a whole lot of strength here. Okay. So it should be everything from our description there. Let me close these out. Folks are quiet in chat tonight. I hope I'm actually live. I think I am. It's just that overall score. Tap the rubric. All right, so now we got a rubric for it here, and I think that has everything we have here. So our location, 25% chance of a wall being, just pretend it's not there. You can't go to the direction. We have hit points, we have dexterity, we have total gold. Our room, we can fight our non-player characters. We can search the room. Spend some gold, we can fight the monster. So you just keep fighting until it dies. Hey, thanks, Mr. Ficky. Mr. Ficky K. So like that's 1 round of fighting. If it's still alive, do it again, right? If it's still alive, it gets to fight us, and then we can keep on going. Or we can run away from it if it's scary. Just run away, or we can try and sleep and get all of our hit points back. The game runs until the player either dies or we get to skip board and close it. Oh, did I not save the rubric? I thought I did. I didn't title the rubric. Is that what it was? Let's see. Let's go to rubrics here. Oh yeah, I didn't title it. This is the final project. There we go. All right, awesome. And other thoughts, questions, concerns on the project? Again, we went over like what one might look like. Again, you don't have to use that design at all. That was just one option. Right? There's tons of different ways to go about it here. I just wanted to give you some idea there of what one thing you could do with it was. Right? So this is essentially it for the main content this week, and I think that we've hit all of our objectives here. Let's take a peek here. We have critical thinking is our general education outcome. This is really all about our problem solving, right? If I give you a problem, can you apply your knowledge to the assigned task, accomplish the assigned task, develop solutions, right? Understand the relationship between ideas. A lot of this is like object-oriented design, how we build solutions. It's fantastic. You can use an IDE to write a Java program, to edit, compile, and run. You should be able to use the debugger. Using that debugger is huge, right? Putting a breakpoint in, stopping and running, seeing the values of things. You can define constants and variables with primitive data types, understand the use of these variables with related operators, type conversions, basic input and output operations. We've done lots of that. You should be able to write, follow and write Java code that uses if-else, switches, whiles, all sorts of loops and ifs. Read to and write from disk files, yep. Create a Java class, objects of that class with private data members, public, accessor, and mutator methods, and a constructor. Understand the concepts of scope and variables within the object and its method. If something is a class level variable, you have access to it in any of the methods of the class. If you declare it in a method, it's just scoped to that method, and then after that method, it's gone. You can demonstrate the core concepts of inheritance, and follow and write code that utilizes arrays or array lists. And we'll be able to create a basic GUI program with event handling. That's what we're working on now for our final project. I think we've hit all of our objectives here. Life is pretty good. Even though it's been a little bit of a rough summer, we're getting there. The GUI system, we're going to take a look at a couple more things tonight as we do controls. Like So we're going to make the controller class create an instance of an object. And then we're going to set our labels based on the values of that object. And so that we can interact with the object. The object will have the ways to interact with it. And then we'll just update our labels for it. I think that's usually a nice way for us to approach that. Let me fire up NetBeans and wait a minute here while that loads. Uh-oh, I'm out of my fluids here. I got a little bit of Coke Zero left. I'm going to need to get some more Coke in a minute. It'll not be enough. I get really thirsty as I talk the whole time, but come on, NetBeans. Yes, Silver. So both people, please submit. If you don't submit individually, D2L doesn't tell me to give you a score. And honestly, I'm bad enough at doing scores for things. I want D2L to tell me and remind me that I need to give you a score. It'll make my life a lot easier for you. And your life easier, because then you'll get the score and you won't have to ask me for it. All right, so we'll start a new project. A Java. So we're not doing, again, we don't use JavaFX applications. We go through this process to get the plugins, but then we actually make the Java with Ant application. Okay, so we're still doing Java with Ant applications. We put this in 1500. This will be our control examples. Right, now we have to do a couple things. So I'm going to go and grab out of GitHub here the example project and basically copy paste because that makes my life a little easier. So our Hello World GUI, our source, Hello World GUI, and we can go do these things. Right? I'll actually grab all the imports too. Why not? Oh, they're not going to light up. Let me do this one. Let me do these ones first, and I'll come back to the imports. All right, so in main, we can put those in. We're going to right-click the libraries of my project, and we're going to add our OpenJFX 16. OpenJFX 16. There we go. Great. Now we're going to right-click the project, go to Run, and paste this line in. So right-click the project, go to Properties, go to the Run section, and then the VM options, paste that line in, telling the Java Virtual Machine to please load these when we run. And then we're going to right-click the project, go to Properties again, go to the Libraries tab, and then in Run, add the OpenJFX library here to the module path. Okay, and then again, our versions are 16 for both. We should be perfectly fine there. Okay, and then we're going to grab our imports, or again, you can let NetBeans do that for you too. Either way is perfectly fine. Extends application. I'm just going to paste them in because it'll make my life a little easier here. And then we need the start method. Grab this one here. Oops. Oh my goodness, too many clicks. The only thing we're going to need to change here is the name of our fxml file here. So right, it's not example.fxml. It'll be whatever fxml file we load in here. So we do a new empty fxml. Again, if it's not in the list, don't worry. Just go to Other, go to JavaFX, pick an empty fxml file. Let's call this one control examples. Examples. We want to use a Java controller. Make sure we check that one there. And we don't need to worry about the cascading style sheets. Again, that's all fun. We'll talk more about that in 2151 if you continue on. It's just fun ways of styling. All right, so here's my fxml. Again, you can do this by hand if you want. I don't recommend it. That's why I'm a big fan of Scene Builder. And then we'll go to control examples.fxml. The name needs to match the name over here. Control examples fxml. So then I can hit run, and I should get just an empty GUI, right? Because we haven't added anything to it yet. But this will just make sure we did this whole setup right before I start adding things to it. Empty. Again, you can set the title too. I just thought this was fun. GUI, GUI, GUI. Right? So you can change that here as well. That's where you set the title. Right? And it seems to work. So we got the base part of it up and running. And it's a couple steps. It's okay. I do this multiple times a week. So I go through it rather quick, but that's, again, why I have it all listed right here for me, so I've got it. Okay? All right, so then we're going to right-click this and go to Open, and it should launch Scene Builder for me. And if it doesn't for you, go to your Tools and Options, and you go to Java, JavaFX, and you tell it where you installed Scene Builder. And if you didn't put it in OpenDev, that's okay. It can be anywhere you want. Just go find where you installed it, and you go from there. If you don't know where you installed it, go to your Scene Builder link here, and go to Open File Location. This gives you the Start Menu link, which is not what we want. This is not the path here. This is where the shortcut is. You right-click the shortcut and go to Properties. Here is the location. That's the path here. So if you took the defaults, it's probably like in C, your users, your username, app data, local, something or other, because programs like to install in local directories if they can help it. It's a bit obnoxious sometimes, but either way, just find the path and you're good to go. It'll launch out Scene Builder for you. Now we have an empty scene here. So we're going to look at playing with a couple controls. So I'm going to go to some controls, and I'm going to do some labels here for fun. So let's do a label. Let's do another label. Let's do another label. Do another label. Do another label. Right, and then I'll add a button. All right. Then we give them names and text. So if you don't want any default text, take the default text out. That's okay. Now, you're not going to be able to see it on the screen anymore, though, without default text, which looks like, hey, we're going to lose it. But there's a cool thing. You can find all of the components here over in this document view on the left. You can always click on them here. And then I'm going to go to code and give them all IDs. So this one is the, I'll just call it first label. And then we'll call this one the second label. Second label. This one will be the third label. And this will be the fourth label. This will be the fifth label. Again, they want meaningful names, but I'm going to use first, second, third, fourth, fifth in a minute. And, you know, maybe then it might be meaningful. Fifth label. Right, and then my button here. We're going to give this an ID. We don't actually need the ID because we're not going to refer to it. We need the on actions. This will generate the method for me here. So this is, I don't know, button click. Sure. I'm going to click a button. And then we want to change the text to click me. And it'll say click me. Right, I give that a save. Right, make sure either Control-S save or go File save. Either one's perfectly fine. And then we're going to come back and we're going to right-click the FXML and make controller. That's going to update the controller. It's going to add anything we give an ID is now a private instance attribute. Right, so this is a class here, and it has private instance attributes. Okay, and then we have a method, button click. Now that's the event handler. We said, hey, when you click the button, we want to do this thing here. And what I also want, I'm going to add a new class here. Let's call this Lotto. Right, and then Lotto is going to have private int first number, private int second number, private, you know what, that's going to be really tedious here. Let's just do private int array numbers. How about that? Array for numbers. And then we'll make a constructor, so public Lotto here. When you make a Lotto, then what we want to do is we're going to make a new random. So random equals a new random. And yes, we want to import random. And then we'll say numbers equals a new int array of size 5. I want 5 random numbers. Right, so this declares it and this instantiates it. Your constructor's job is to give values to all of your attributes. Again, we just have the 5. That's okay. And then we're going to pick a bunch of random numbers. So we'll say for excuse me, index is 0. Index is less than numbers.length. I know it's 5, but using .length is always proper here. You always want to go off the length of your array. Number index plus plus. And we're going to say numbers at the index. Right, we're going to start at 0, go up to the end index here, equals random dot next int, and I want to give it a bound. I want to go from 0 to 9. Right, this is not inclusive. So numbers 0 to 9. Okay, so I'll get 5 different numbers, 0 to 9. So I might have duplicates, I might not. That's okay. And then we need public get methods here. So I don't need a set method for numbers. I only want to get random numbers here. Okay, but I want to then C, be able to get those numbers back out. So I'll have a public int array, get numbers. Now, just giving someone back this here is risky, right? This is risky here. Yeah, random for rolling dice for sure. So remember, this is the upper number does not include this number, and it starts at 0. So if you want 1 to 6, you want to go numbers 0 to 5 plus 1. We'll give you 1 to 6 instead of 0 to 5. So you don't usually want to give them back your private attribute here, because remember, an array is the location in memory of where it is. They would have full access to go change it. So if I call get numbers, I could go make myself win the lottery because I have access to it. So I want to give them a copy of it here. There's this cool tool, arrays. I got an import arrays here. Arrays dot, I think it's copy, right? Copy of. Is it copy of? I think it's copy of. Numbers. 5, I think. And then we'll just return that copy. I think that ought to work for us here. We'll take a peek, make sure that works for us. Right, so we want to give a copy, that way they don't have access to change our values here. Right, and then what we're going to do in our controls example controller then, when we go click a button, right, we want to use that Lotto class. So I can add my own instance attributes here. Right, so I'm going to have a private Lotto ticket. And then I can either add a constructor or I can do it in initialize. Initialize is essentially a constructor because it's going to get called right away, but it's not exactly the constructor. So we can write our own constructor. It's no big deal here. Public. We'll just add our own no argument constructor. We'll say ticket equals a new Lotto. Right? So what's a little bit funky here is that when this constructor runs, all of these fxml things have not been initialized yet. So those don't get initialized until initialize. Right? We can declare something and then we can initialize it or instantiate it. These don't get values until this happens here. So maybe we want to do it there anyway. But again, we're actually going to do it in a method here. We're going to have a private void method here for update labels. And we're going to say first label dot set text, and we're going to set the text as my ticket dot get numbers index of 0, get numbers index of 0, and that needs to be as a string here. So we want integer dot toString, I think that's the method. Integer toString this way. Or, if you want to be cheesy, you can take like a quote plus that and do string concatenation. This is probably not as proper, though, as integer toString. So we'll do it the nice proper way here. We'll do this for all of our labels. We'll do second label, set text, and let's set it to, get the number 1 here. And if this is a lot of typing the ticket get numbers here, we could just say, I don't know, like an int array numbers equals ticket get numbers. If you like this way is perfectly fine too. And then we can just say numbers index of 0, numbers index of 1. So that cleans it up a little bit here, right? We'll grab all that, and then a third label, set text, index of 2, fourth label, set text. So you can imagine doing something similar to this for all the labels you're going to have for your PCs and your NPCs and anything else, right? We're just going to set a bunch of text. Fifth label. What we're doing is we're setting it to the value of the class that we have a reference to. So the class's job is to store all those attributes, so store all those values, because we're object-oriented, right? We want an object that represents these things. So I have an object that represents my lotto ticket here. And then to get the labels, I'm just saying, hey, give me those bunch of values here. So text to index of 4. You'd have to put the labels into an array. And if I'm going to put the labels in an array, it's probably the same amount of typing for me. Yeah, the only problem is my labels are not in an array because they're individually represented here. Yeah, I like that thought though, Beta. That's good. There's other funky things you can do, but the ordering you're going to get out is not necessarily guaranteed. Like you can get all of the objects that exist, but it's some weird stuff. So it's not too bad here. So then on initialize, then I want to update labels. And when the button is clicked, what I want to do is I want to say ticket equals a new ticket, new or new lotto, right? New lotto, and then I'll call update labels. So I'm going to get a ticket initially when I have my constructor, and then every time you click the button here, I'm going to do it again to get new numbers. So let's give that a run, see if it works for us here. All right, so I had 8, 1, 3, 1, 8. Click it again, I get some more numbers, And maybe you want to have some other information here, right? So maybe you want, like, I don't know, first number, or maybe you want to put them all in a line. I don't know. However you want it to show, those are the numbers here, right? Here's the numbers here. So here's our little lotto generator. And this should be random each time. Or mostly random. Again, the Java random class there is pseudo-random. It's not exactly random. It's really hard for computers to be random, right? Because they follow a set algorithm, and you know what that algorithm is. It's not a cryptographically secure random number generator. They do have those, and honestly, I don't even understand the math, how that sort of works. Ask Dr. Ball if you're curious. He knows a lot more about those sorts of things. How you can actually have cryptographically secure random number generators, but it's kind of like magic. It's probably not actually magic, but we could actually look at the code if we wanted, but it's okay. If you're curious, you know. Hey, we just, click for little lotto numbers here. Right? Then what we could do is we can take this a step further and we can let the user play the lotto. So maybe we don't actually do this right off the bat. Maybe we don't actually show the numbers initially here. Right? And maybe we do it when we'll come back to our scene builder. We'll say, play the lottery. Also known as throw your money away. Okay? So that'll generate the random numbers here, and then how about we have another value here? Or let's let the user pick. How about that? How about we let the user pick? So let's add in some text boxes. Text fields here. So we'll say, let's see, where's my labels? I want to move these here. Oh goodness, they don't like to move without text. Sure. B, C, C, and B. Okay, I just want to line them all up here. I want to put the text boxes somewhere else. Okay. Yeah, now those are all lined up. I can take the text back out here. They're kind of annoying sometimes to do that. There's also a bunch of other really cool tools in Scene Builder here where you can like grab all of them. Nope, not that one. Undo. Redo. Nope, nope. I want to click. No. All right. Just click all of those. I'm just shift clicking those ones here, and then you can go to arrange. No. Where is it? There's there you can align them here. Where's the controller? I don't want to align the button. I guess I could align the button with it here, but you can should be able to grab all of those here. I don't want to wrap. I guess we could wrap them all in something. Put them all into a different display. Should have been able to. My goodness. All right, I'm losing the button here. It's like align. No? All right, I don't know. I thought there was a. What's in here? What's in here? No. My goodness. No, I'm losing it. They would like put them all on the same line if they're not. Anyway, okay, it's not worth it. Not worth it. We can just drag them around. So we'll add some text boxes here. And then we'll add in a way for the user to give us a bunch of values. They don't need to be very large here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. Cool. And then we'll throw some other labels in here. Like first number. Oh, that's a little large there, isn't it? Let's see. Slide it over a little bit. First number. Second number. Third. I'm just copy pasting here. You can copy paste labels. All right. So first. Second number. Oh dear. I have to move my text box over now. The second, the longest word there. It might be the second, might be the longest. Fifth number. Fourth number. Third number. All right, close enough. And then we can put some in here. When we play the lottery, then we need to reference all of these. So all these need IDs here. So the first number text box. And we don't need any action when we type here. This is second number text box. Third number text box. Third number text box. A fourth number text box. And a fifth number text box. All right, there we go. And then we'll go back, give it a save, make the controller again. So go to our FXML, right-click, make controller. And added a bunch more text fields. And now, so we made a random lotto, right? And then we need to see whether or not we won. So I actually kind of want to use this lotto class here again. Right, so this is giving you a random number. So I'm going to say public lotto, and I'm going to add a argument here. So if you give me an integer array for numbers, we'll just take it. We'll say this numbers equals numbers. Or again, it's probably better to do an array copy. So we'll do that. We'll do arrays, a copy of numbers. And we want to copy all 5. This way I have a copy of it here. Again, just if they give me numbers and then they go change it after the fact, it might do bad things here. Okay? So I could be able to make a new lotto here using those numbers. So then I'm going to get an integer array for users numbers. And then this ticket here, I'm going to refactor rename. Let's call this the winning ticket here. So winning ticket then. And then we'll have the user's numbers equals a new int array. And you know what? I actually want to give it some values right away. So we'll do int first number equals first number text box dot get text. And then I need that as an integer, so it's integer dot parseInt of the first number text box get text. We're going to do this for all of these. So first number, second number, third number, fourth number, fifth number. Second number, third number, fourth number, fifth number. Second number text box, third number text box, fourth number text box, and fifth number text box. Get text, integer parseInt, and then we can give it a new int array, and I can give it these values. First number, second number. So remember, arrays at least are easy to initialize. I do like that of arrays, as much as I dislike them usually. Array lists are great for anything that you don't know necessarily what the fixed size is going to be. right, so we have a winning ticket, we get the user's numbers, and then we make a user's ticket equal to new lotto given the user's numbers. Oh, and we need a new private variable here, a new lotto. This will be the user's ticket. I'm a little OCD sometimes. No, that's wrong. I'm a little particular. So I'm just going to move those out of the list of all the fxmls, because those ones get auto-generated and put places here. Okay. Well, then we need to see, did we win? Oops. The curly brace went in the wrong spot. There we go. Get out of the curly brace. So we'll make the winning ticket with the random numbers, and we'll get all of our numbers here, and then we'll have that, and then we should see how much we won. So let's do another value here. So let's have how about a private int for total spent, a private int for total won. So every time we play the lotto, then we're going to say my total spent plus equals to, what, $1? Plus $1 every time we, oh, a hat. You got it, Veda. Let's see, I've got a chest bra hat, or I've got the white floppy hat, or I have the mini hat. Your pick tonight. I'll have to keep funny hats in my office once we're back on campus. That'll be fun. I'll do the chest bra one for now, until you tell me otherwise. Because it's the most comfortable. Alright. Believe it or not, they do not give me an affiliate link or sponsor as much as I add for them. The big one, okay, you got it. Here you go. It's not as pretty without the bow on it, but it'll do. Definitely keeps the sun off my bald spot. Alright, so total spend's $1, and then let's see how much money we won. Right, so again, this is what, 5 random numbers. I don't actually know. So let's see how much we're going to win. So let's go to lotto, and then let's add a method here, public int get winnings, given a lotto other ticket. So a lottery ticket itself should be able to tell you how much money it won if you tell it the winning ticket. We'll call this the winning ticket. So if you give it a winning ticket, the lotto ticket will tell you if it won or not. So for our purposes, right, we can, I don't know, what do you want to say? How much do you win on like a daily 5 lotto odds or something? No, it's lottery post. I don't know. It's got to be on some site, right? How about Michigan? Lottery USA, Fantasy 5. Oh, those are like some large numbers there. Michigan Lottery. Do we have a daily 5 or something like that? I don't know. Usually I have people do like a Powerball, because it shows you how fast you can lose your money. Oh my goodness. Raffles, quick play games. That's right, you can play online now and lose money even faster. Isn't that nice of them? Powerball, Mega Millions, Fantasy 5, Lotto 47, Daily 3, Daily 4. All right, let's do the Daily 4. Okay, so I guess we don't need 5 numbers. We can go down to 4 numbers. Goodness, they do this twice? Jeez. I don't even understand what all these things are. My goodness. All right, so you win $5,000 with a 1 in 10,000 chance of winning. Sure. All right, we can do that. Let's we'll just get rid of these fifth number things. No big deal here. Or we'll just do half. We'll do half. Right. This is our own lottery. So given the winning lottery, so if all of our numbers match, then right, all 5 numbers match, we're going to win. Let's say 50,000. So for an int my index is 0. Or really, we can use these enhanced for loops too. So for int my number in numbers, We'll use well, if we don't have an index here, we really want an index. So for index is 0, index is less than numbers.length, index plus plus, plus plus, and we can say if numbers at index does not equal the winning ticket. Now winning ticket is an instance of Lotto. It has the numbers property. Now, you're going to say, oh, you can't use that because it's private. Now, the funny thing about private values is that if you're in the Lotto class, you have access to it. Even though it's not my current instance, it's another instance here, I still have direct access to their numbers instance, their numbers value here. So this is my instance here. This is the winning tickets instance of numbers at index. If they don't match, we're going to return 0. You won no dollars. If we've gone through all 5 values and we haven't returned 0, I can return, what did we say, 50,000? A $50,000 prize. Okay, so to get winnings, given another ticket here. So like when you're having your NPC fight the NPC, you can have a method for fight and you can give it the other instance here and do those sorts of things, right? You can have a method accept an instance of another class and do something with it. In this case, it's the same class. They're both instances of Lotto. So if they're both instances of Lotto, I can get at their private values. Otherwise, I'd have to use public methods. I can also just use get numbers too at the index. Either way is fine. Okay, so then we're going to update our winnings. So when we do that, we'll generate the user's ticket and we'll say my winnings, total 1 plus equals the get winnings. Oh, I'm sorry. User's ticket, get winnings, given the winning ticket. So take the user's ticket, get the winnings, given the winning ticket. We'll see how much money we won. And then we update labels. Let's say my total spent. Oops, I need a label for that. So let's add a label. And we'll call this one total spent. Starts off at 0. And then this will be the total spent label. I'll copy paste it here, and we'll do a total 1 label. This will be total 1. $0. And then for fun here, we can drive this point home here. This will be the net loss. $0 to start, and this will be our net loss label. Net loss label, right? Because anytime you're doing a lottery simulation, if your simulator shows that you're making money, you're doing it wrong, right? The lottery does not make people money. The lottery makes the state money. That's why the state sponsors the lottery, right? If the state was losing money in the lottery, they wouldn't do it. I can guarantee you. Right, so we saved it, and we'll right-click Make Controller. Hydration, thank you so much. I got to remember to stay hydrated here. We need to grab another one of these, or probably another Coke. It's going to be a long night. All right, then we'll take our total spent label. Total spent label, and we'll set text to total spent, colon, plus total spent. We'll do our total 1 label and our net loss label. Total 1 label, label, total 1 to the total 1. And the net loss label set to net loss. And now the net loss is the total spent minus the total 1. Right? We can generate that value here. It's not actually another attribute. But make sure we do our order of operations. Make sure the arithmetic happens first. Then we concatenate. All right, let's give it a shot. So far it's zeros, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like the lottery, that's the winning tickets. I've lost $1. We lost another $1. So we're never going to win, right? We have a 1 in 100,000 chance. Hey, Dodo, how you doing today? Of winning this lottery here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? I could generate all day long, and I'm just going to keep losing money. Right? One in 100,000 times I'll win. Right? Half the chance of winning in dollars. Hey, thanks so much. I stole it from my daughter. Actually, she left it. Well, no. She had left it in my office. I used it last semester, and then she took it back, and then she left it out again, so I took it back, because people wanted the big floppy hat redemption. And look at that. Every time we click, something happens. Again, we're using the class here, though. So what we're doing is we're using the class to do its logic, right? Getting the winnings, and then we're updating our labels. So the class will represent things. So if you're building our little game here, we can have a class that represents the player, and we can make a class that represents the non-player character, right? Or you could do some sorts of cool things with code, right? They're essentially the same thing. They just have slightly different constructors or things like that. So we got options, or subclassing, or lots of things there. And then the classes can interact with each other, and then we just update the labels. So the idea here is that the logic happens in the classes, right? What happens in the controller is just the button tells it to do this, and then we update our display. Right? There's no actual logic here. I guess we have our total spent tracking here, but aside from that. So we're using the Lotto class to do all the logic, right? It will generate random tickets for me. It will, sure, we can give it the numbers here. So we're saying, okay, if you give me 5 numbers, I'll take those 5 numbers, make an instance of the class, and then the class will tell me how much money you won. The Lotto class. So for your game, you can make an instance of player, right, as a private instance attribute, and then you can use all the methods of player to do the things. Right? You can add gold for the player. So your player and your non-player character are very, very, very similar. They get constructed differently. Right? I guess non-player characters, we don't really care about gold. They're not having gold, or you can make them drop gold if you want, if you defeat monsters. It's totally up to you, non-player characters. But then they fight each other, right? You fight, and then they fight if they're still alive, that sort of thing. So they can interact with each other, like with my Lotto class. Hey, I have a method here that does something given an instance of another class. In this case, it's the same class, but either way is fine. Yeah, the fxml is this is my display, and then my buttons. So here's the action. I'm going to handle that event. So when you click this one, I'll go do that thing. When you click that one, we'll go do that thing. Right? We got lots of choices there. So let's add another button here for fun. And actually, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to the properties here, and I'm going to click the disable option. That will gray the button out. So the disabled property says you can't click the button. And then I'm going to add a big, let's add another label here for, and then we'll put some text here. So we'll say, I understand the lottery is likely to lose me money. I have a gambling problem. It is not the state's fault. And they have a hotline I can call because that's helpful. Oh man, that was too long. That was too long. Sorry. A little bit long there. Maybe we should have done a different option, but that's okay. Yeah, so like the difference between them is their attributes. They get assigned differently for players and non-player characters. Right? The idea, the player controls the player character, the computer controls the non-player characters. So they just get different hit points and attributes here. So we get different values. Right, but essentially they do the same thing, right? The way that they fight each other is the same thing, right? Oops, oh goodness, don't change that. The roll greater than or equal to the dexterity we hit. And I take the strength divided by. So a lot of that logic's like the same thing. You can do separate, you can make them all the same, totally up to you. However you want to approach that is fine. Right? If this ends up being like the same class, as long as they are constructed appropriately, that's perfectly fine. Or if you want one class and then a subclass, that's cool too. totally up to you. It gets more interesting as you add other types of player characters and other classes. That's probably the confusing term here. But like you might have a fighter character, you might have like a ranger character or a wizard character with like different abilities. And there's all sorts of fun stuff there you can do. That's probably a little bit beyond what we want to tackle in 1500. Okay. All right, so then we're going to add a button here. Oops. And actually, I want an ID here. So we'll call this the disclaimer label. And then we'll add a button. Oops, button. For the disclaimer button. And on click, this will be a disclaimer button clicked. Give that a save. We'll go make our controller. So then what I can do, on the disclaimer button clicked, I'm going to take my, oops, I need an ID for this one now. This needs an ID. This is the play button. There we go. And then make controller again. So I can take my play button, and I can set disabled to false. It is no longer disabled. And then I can take my disclaimer button, and I can say set visible to false and make it go away. And I can take my disclaimer label and I can set the text to nothing. So setting disabled or setting visible, both ways of indicating that it's no longer there. Right? So I understand a lot of us like to lose my money. If I have a gambling problem, it's not the state's fault. I have a hotline I can call because that's helpful. I click the button, and now I can actually start playing the lottery here. Oops, I forgot to put some numbers in. It crashed. Right? If you can't integer.parse int, it's going to crash on you. There we go. Let's start spending money. Right? That sort of thing. Does that make sense? So these enabled and visible are really cool. So like when you're saying, hey, there might be a wall here, you could randomly disable one of those options, right? A north, a south, a east, or a west. Again, disable just kind of grays it out so you can't click it, and then set visible just means to totally just hide it from the view, so it's no longer visible. Okay, are we all right so far? I think it's at 7 now, so why don't we take a break? We'll come back in about 10 minutes, and we'll look at some other control examples from Chapter 13 that are kind of fun, other things we can play with. Okay, put some music back on. We'll be back in about 10. Hey folks, welcome on back. Alrighty. Cool. So we can look at some other fun controls here. Let's see, my scene builder. So in this controls list here in scene builder, there's actually a bunch of cool things you can pick. Radio buttons and checkboxes are some pretty common ones. So the biggest difference between those, right, is a radio button means only one of them can be clicked at a time. So we'll take radio buttons and we'll group them together, and then only one of them is clickable. So if I pick a different one, it unselects the original one. So like as you click it, that is the one that's selected. Versus the checkbox, you can have multiple checkboxes checked all at one time. This is Cherry Vanilla. Not really the biggest fan. Little weird, but it was free, so I guess the price is right there. Other fun ones are sliders. You can do horizontal sliders or vertical sliders. So we can do a set of sliders if we wanted here, maybe instead of text boxes. Now the big thing with sliders is you set a min and a max value. We'll say min is 0, max is 9, and I want to have major tick units of 1 and no minor tick units, and I want to snap to ticks. And I want to show the tick marks and the tick labels. So with this now, I can slide from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I could do that instead of these ones here. Actually, let me grab this one, and this one. Put those over here, and then we'll add sliders instead, maybe. 1, 2, do they fit? Okay, they fit. 3, 4, and 5. Right? So we can have sliders to represent our numbers instead of the text boxes. So, you know, let's do this. Sorry, and we want to this drag drop is actually not what we want. We want mouse, I think on mouse released when we let go here. Or is there just a general? No, there's not a general action handle. That's okay. So let's name these here. So this is the first slider. This is the second slider. This is the third slider. This is the fourth slider. And this is the fifth slider. Give those a save. All right. Excuse me. Then let's leave. I guess we'll leave the text boxes for now here. We want the slider. Yeah, we want those slider actions. Let's do that. So let's do on mouse released here. Let's do. Let's make sure we get each of these ones here. On mouse released. Let's do the first slider. Oh, you know, let's just do slider mouse released. And I'm going to do the same one for all of these here. So all of the sliders will do the exact same action. Okay, so we'll save that. We'll right click, make controller. And now we have a new release here. Now what we want to do instead of, for update labels here, you know, actually, well, we can do that. Let's take my first number text box and let's set the text to my first slider dot get value dot integer dot toString, right? integer.toString of the slider get value. Oh, it's a double. Yeah, we don't want it to be a double here because we only want, so the sliders can be like approximate. They don't have to be even. I know I snapped it to the ticks, but the ticks don't even have to be even amounts either. Let's do that as an int then. We want an int of the get value, then integer toString. We'll do it for each of those. Second number text box, third number text box, fourth number text box, fifth number text box for the first slider, the second slider, the second slider, the third slider, the fourth slider, and the fifth slider. Now, the other thing we want, though, is when the text boxes change. So we need a on key typed here. Let's see, we want, on for our text box. We want on key typed. Let's do text box key typed. So when a key is typed, let's have a method here to kind of link all these together. And we'll do the same thing where if a key was typed, we'll set the sliders, or if a slider was touched, we'll set the text. See if we can do that. So we'll make our controller. We'll have another method here then, so we'll do the opposite. So when a key is typed, we're going to try and set the text. So we'll take first slider, and we're going to set value to the first number text box .get text, and we want that as integer.parseInt. Integer.parseInt. And then the second slider, the third slider, the fourth slider, the fifth slider. So we'll set them all. So we could be more specific and just do one at a time, where each one has its own, but I'm not too concerned here, just doing them all every time. Sure, it's a little silly, I guess, but feel like maybe a little bit less work than doing different event handlers, but third, fourth, fifth. Okay, all right, I'm a little upset here that we're doing this wrong. So let's do this even better. So what you can do here, this event, actually we've never used this argument here, but we can. So when this event is raised, event has a bunch of properties. Event dot, you can get source, and you can say if that equals something. So the slider, if that equals first slider, so if the event get source equals the first slider, let's do this one. Right? Else if the event get source is the second slider, let's do a thing. Second slider. There. Now and we can copy this pattern here, and we can do that each time. So you can use the same event handler, and we can check, hey, where did the source come from? Which source triggered this event? It's pretty cool. So if it's the third, we'll do the third. Third slider. Let's see if it was the fourth. Do the fourth slider. Else if, oops, do the fifth slider. All right, I'm feeling better about this here. Fifth slider, fourth slider. And we'll give it a little format. Take out that extra line. So now we're actually checking, hey, Sick Paranoid, how you doing today? Happy Monday. So now for any one of them, they can all use the same event handler, and it's just going to check, hey, which object here made this event happen? What was the source of this event? Which one was what was the mouse released? Okay, we'll do the same idea here with our text boxes. You can say if the event.getSource is equal to my first number text box, then we'll go do the first thing. Right, and then else if, and this will be slightly more efficient, right? If it was the second number text box, we'll do the second number thing. Else if it was the third number text box, we'll do the third thing. Else if it was the fourth, oops, copy, not cut. Else if it was the fourth, do the fourth thing. Otherwise, do the fifth thing. So second, third, fourth, and fifth. So the other cool thing that IDE does, like as I click on one of these, I can see it highlights the other references to that variable. So I can kind of see that, yes, I've paired those up correctly. If it was the first, change it to the first. If it was the second, change it to the second, third, fourth. Just to kind of eyeball, because it's easy to make those mistakes. Now let's see if I can do either one. Let's try it. So if I change one of the sliders here, now it's a 4. Change the slider, it's a 2. Change the slider, it's an 8. Change the slider, what if I put some text in here? 6, 9. Uh-oh, it's upset when it's blank. Okay, all right, so let's make sure. I guess we need to add in another one then. So if the text box was changed, so if that was it. Oh no, you're fine. Swing is just the older style. JavaFX is the newer style approach here. We've got some great tools that come with JavaFX as well, like Scene Builder, so you can do a graphical drag and drop stuff, along with cascading style sheets. Yeah, lots of cool things. So there's nothing wrong with Swing. It's just it's the older version. All right. So if the text is not nothing, so we'll say if that was the source and first number text box. Nope. Oh my goodness. Get text. Get text. Does not equal nothing. Okay. Dot equals nothing, and not equals nothing. Then do that thing. All right. And the second, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. Second number text box, third number text box, fourth number text box. By the way, a double click will highlight an entire word for you here. So I'm double clicking to highlight everything. Control C, copy, Control V, paste. Trying to make that life a little easier for me here. All sorts of shortcuts that I'm a fan of. All right, so let's see. Can I drag and drop that one? Maybe we'll say 5. We'll do 2, or maybe I didn't want 2. Maybe I wanted 7. If I do 27, it's going to freak out because it can't go past that. Right, so 2 or 7, I don't know, let's throw some numbers in here, do the sliders. Anyway, we want to give the user the ability to play the lottery here. It's great. So our number is 65753. No, we didn't win. Go figure. We're not winning this lottery. But I can play with sliders if I want to change my values. So sliders are fun. They're just another control, right? Doing that with radio buttons would be a little bit obnoxious, but we could add a radio button from 0 to 9. And they can pick a radio button. Again, trying to make them all match here is going to be a little bit annoying, so we probably don't want to go down that route here. But radio buttons and checkboxes, they're all fun. What do you folks think? This making sense? How we can use these controls? Again, we're focused on using them in Scene Builder, building them in Scene Builder. Next week, we'll talk about exceptions and then how we can do this stuff programmatically. So instead of doing a Scene Builder GUI here, and even instead of necessarily typing our own FXML, which is also awful, we can just in code generate these objects. There's lots of cool things you can do, right? You see, all Scene Builder did was give me these things here. Some other magic happens behind the scenes as well with these on key typed event handlers, but we've got options here. Right, let me grab this here, make sure we didn't miss anything important, because sometimes that happens. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I think we had pretty much enough from last week. We didn't talk about like disabling buttons. But like you could have said you can't go that way. So I don't necessarily need, you didn't need to be able to disable the buttons. It just makes your UI a little cleaner here. And again, I'm not a user interaction expert by any stretch of the imagination. UX is not my thing. It's a great field of study. It's super useful and important, but at the point that we're at, we don't care about building the most pretty, the most usable, the most, this is, the user's going to look from top left to top right in the way that their eyes scan and, distance between buttons. I don't care about that right now. We're just, can we get something functional? And I think part of the fun of it and part of the art of computer science is we can design things any way we want, right? There's really, your imagination is the limit of how you can put these tools together. And that's what's really fun. That's what we're learning in the class, is this whole set of tools. We're learning essentially a toolkit that says, hey, this is how you can do this thing. This is how you can make code do this. This is how you can make code do this. So we're just kind of adding to our toolkit here as we learn all these different things. So we looked at, just basic, how do we store data? And then how do we do if else? How do we make decisions? How do we do loops? How do we write stuff to files? How do we write methods? Right? And methods really, you don't necessarily have to use them at all, but they're for us, right? The code is for people. We can make the computer do anything we want in any sort of awkward way. The reason why we write things with methods is to make life easier for us, right? We give us a nice name to what's happening for us to be able to not have repeated code, right? And to be able to break a big problem apart into smaller problems, right? Just to kind of visualize and follow what's happening. You take a big problem and break it down into smaller and smaller and smaller bits and solve those small problems. Then we looked at classes. Once we have classes, we really have tons of ability to solve problems in an efficient way that makes sense to humans, right? We like doing things in an object-oriented manner because that's what we're used to doing things in the real world, right? I understand what objects are. This is not the definition of a Coke bottle. This is an instance of a Coke bottle, right? It can tell me how much is left in it, right? I can drink from it. The things, I can pick it up. I can move it. It has a location. I don't know, all sorts of fun attributes. Anything you can think about, right? How much pressure is in the bottle might be an attribute. We can assign those using our classes, and we can interact with it with public methods. Arrays and array lists is just more about storing data, right? A little bit easier here than trying to build them all out one at a time. And then inheritance, another fundamental of object-oriented programming, that I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I've got a base class, and I'm going to extend that class to add more functionality, to customize it. And one of the things we do with that, right, is build Gui applications. There's a whole class already in the library for application. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We don't need to tell Java, hey, this is how you put a window on a screen. No one wants to do that. I just give me that core functionality, and then I'll tell you what I want to do with it. Well, in our case, we want to load this FXML thing, and I want to have a controller. This is how I want to respond to those events. So we're just adding tools to our toolkit. So next week, we can talk a little bit about exceptions. That's the right way to make sure our program doesn't crash. So far, we've just said, oh, sure, let it crash, and we'll feel bad about ourselves. I don't like that. But we'll talk about it next week, and then we'll look at how I can do this GUI stuff programmatically instead of with Scene Builder. Because there are good uses for doing things programmatically, right? Like if we've got 100 different objects, you probably don't want to drag and drop 100 different things in here all at once, right? That'd be a little tedious. So something like if I wanted to build a Connect 4 game, I don't want to have to build my grid of 7 columns and 6 rows one at a time, right? And have to drag them all out and then name them all individually. And like, I probably want to do something programmatically for that. So we got some cool options. Okay. And we got 3 weeks left to knock this final project out. Next week will not be much more than an hour, so we'll have extra time next week as well. If you want to get together, I'm happy to do that during our designated class time. Again, you know, this online format is hard, and I apologize, it's not ideal. Typically, we teach in a computer lab where you have a computer in front of you that you can play with and you can try the things we're doing. So I would spend about half a class talking about things and then give you the other half of class to try those things where I can actually walk around the lab and like look at your code and see what's going on here. So, I mean, screen sharing, it gets us close to that. And then having chat and having Discord, where I really appreciate you folks posting your issues and questions and comments there, because that, I feel like, simulates our real class environment better. Because when someone asks a question in the class, everyone else hears the question and everyone else hears me answer it. So everyone kind of gets that benefit of, oh, well, this is what happened to them, and okay, maybe I was having a similar issue, or maybe I didn't want to ask. Whatever that happens to be here, perfectly fine. So post your questions there. Happy to answer. We do have study group this week. So there aren't any more quizzes. Now, I'm not going to have a quiz on chapter 13 or anything. I'm sorry about the quiz for chapter 12. The default in D2L is to hide the quiz, which I guess makes sense. Like, they don't want it to show up as I'm working on it. But they never like, hey, you saved your quiz. Do you want to go publish it? And I always forget because, I do some of them, but like, I don't know. I don't do it often enough to remember that step every time, unfortunately. And I'm not back in the classroom where I've got like the classroom routine, so this has been rough. So the chapter 12 quiz is posted. It's just 6 questions, so it's a little bit shorter here, and I put it due for next week. So you got a whole week plus a couple hours to get that one done. Sorry I didn't have it in earlier, but we won't have a quiz on 13. That'll be our last quiz, and then everything else is done except for the final project, and we can go from there. So any other thoughts, questions, concerns? What else is on your mind? Just the final project? Sorry, someone's making like a weird noise. I don't know where it's coming from. All right, so let me publish this code out there in GitHub for you. What is that? I don't think it's my cats. Trolls. Yeah, Veda, I've got the link in Discord, or it's right here. 1500 summer. I can post it for you, or exclam GitHub. We'll give you my main GitHub, but that's the repository for the course. So that's where all the examples have been all semester long. And then when it comes to unit testing GUI stuff is really obnoxious and hard, and there's like whole frameworks and things around that. What we would unit test is the logic code here. Like, hey, does get winnings actually work? So I could write a unit test if I wanted to make sure that this works properly. And to do that, I would set both numbers here, right? Excuse me. So let's do that for fun real quick. We can do a quick test. So JUnit4, we're good to go. So I don't need the get numbers here, get winnings. So I'm going to do a lotto first ticket equals a new lotto given a new int array of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then a second ticket, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is, again, I'm arranging, right? Arrange, act, and then assert. I'll have an int for expected winnings. Winnings, 50,000. Right, and then we can act. We can have an int for actual winnings. First ticket dot get winnings given the second ticket. And then we can assert they match. Assert equal. Nope, assert equals my expected winnings and my actual winnings. We'll run the tests. Right? Do they actually get 50,000 out if I have the same numbers? Uh-oh. Well, that's a weird one. Let me try that one more time just for fun. Failed. An error caused. Oh, goodness. Well, that's new. I broke it. Let me, okay, I guess we can't do the unit test really quick. Let's do a clean and build real quick. Build, test. Wow. Insertion failed. Expected winnings, actual winnings. Huh. All right, I'm going to put a breakpoint in, and I'm going to debug my test. We'll see what happened. Because I'm curious now. That was supposed to work really nicely, so now I'm confused. Did we not even get that far? Let me try. Did my constructor failed? No. Wow. What did we do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Doesn't that work? Huh. That's super weird. All right, let's stop. Stop. And let's try our test again. Let's debug test. Is it thinking about it, or is it crashing still? No, it just crashes. Wow. All right, I'm going to close NetBeans and reopen it, and maybe that'll work. But you know, okay. I just wanted to show you the unit test. You folks don't have to sit and watch here. I just don't know what went wrong. That's really weird. All right. So when we call tonight, we'll head on over, see if anyone else is doing anything fun in Twitch land, and we can go from there. Let me know how I can help, folks. The goal, again, is you all have a successful project. Yeah, for sure, Yulin Call. I'll see if it's... I might just need a reboot. I'm not really sure. That is quite odd. Quite odd. Ooh, here we go. Let's go check out Volcano Dock. Dock. I don't know if I spelled that right. Volcano. That looks right, yep. All right, I'm just relaunching NetBeans here, see if that works. Come on, let's go. Oh, it's slash raid. Oops. One of these days I can work Twitch. Oh, really? Pretty sure I spelled that right. Okay, there we go. All right, folks. It's been fun. And let me know how I can help, and we'll go from there. You take care.